everyone. My name is Gianna Belcastro. Welcome back to another episode of the Women's Sports Matter podcast. Today, we are here with a friend of mine. Care to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Colton. I'm from Bladewood, Illinois. I'm a current student at the University of Kansas. I was a student manager at Lancaster High School for boys basketball, football, and boys baseball. It's nice to be here with you guys, and let's have some fun today.
Yes, let's have some fun. So, we're going to be talking about basketball today. That's something that both of us really like. But before we get into that, y'all know how this goes. We're going to go into an ad read. It's a wonderful, wonderful ad read, I swear. Guys, it's really good. So, we're going to jump into that. And then we're going to talk about some basketball. Play that ad read! That ad read is always immaculate, but that's not what this episode is about. We're talking about basketball today. I got to manage my high school's team for 2 years when I transferred to Neuqua Valley, as I talked about here before. You also have experience with other teams, so what's it like managing for just more than one team?
Well, being a manager, I've taken pride into it. Um, and a lot of coaches see that. I've actually gotten a few offers back here in Illinois, coaching opportunities. But it's a really fun experience. I mean, I've learned a lot. I mean, coaches see that. So I'm a big fan of basketball, but I'm multi-dimensional in all sports, really. I even go watch girls basketball, I watch volleyball, I watch any sport, really. But it's a good time. I love helping out the team, I love helping out the coaches and the players, and it's a really fun experience. Not being able to play sucks for me because I do have a disability and physically I can't play the game. But being able to sit down and watch the game and learn from the coaches and kind of trying to learn my style of coaching is what I take pride in. And even though I don't play, I can give those teams a better perspective from someone who has never played but knows the game better than most people who have played, really. So, I mean, I was a student manager prospect for the University of Kansas men's basketball team. Due to COVID, we weren't really able to get through with the interviews, but I was blessed to have represented the Illinois Central 8 Conference in Lancaster High School and being the conference's first student manager prospect at the Division One level in history. So that was kind of cool. So I made my own history, and I can't wait to embark more into my basketball journey. But it's a fun time being able to manage the team and everything. It's a fun experience. I loved it. I would love it at the college level too. And yeah, it's a great time. You know, people overlook a lot of us managers, but I think a lot of managers have a lot of fun with it, which is awesome to me.
Yeah, I loved my time managing. I The thing with me is I have the ability to play basketball and I decided not to. My junior year when I transferred from Joliet Catholic to Neuqua, I was scared. I saw that this was a whole different level of basketball between the first high school I went to and the new one that I was attending. I went to summer camp. I played a few games in the summer. I even went to Portland with the team twice because I thought that both years of high school I was going to be playing basketball and I just didn't because I realized there's no way that I can build upon my skills, I guess. Um, and I tried really hard. I tried training and stuff. It just didn't work out. The good thing I have a backup with frisbee. That's the only sport I think I'm actually good at. I just basketball wasn't it for me, but being able to be there and to manage to be there on senior night is one thing. That is something that I look forward to for a long time. Uh, it's a fun time and getting to film one a few times I got to take pictures during games. It's a blast. It's so much fun, and I even I have a case over here in my room. It's got like a bunch of bobbleheads and whatnot. I proudly display my captain pin from senior year that my coach gave me on senior night. Even though I was never really involved in the captain meetings, I still take pride in that because when you're a senior, you're a captain. And it's just, yeah,
Yes, I take a lot of pride into that too. Being a senior, it you have to relish those moments you have as a senior because like back in March when everything got canceled, you have to take every moment you have. And I think our girls basketball seasons I think ended right at that time and the boys basketball season was still going. I think they were in super sectionals and JCA is a really good girls basketball
yes,
program.
they grew over the years. I have to admit to that. I played their freshman year, and it was a whole different thing versus senior year. And I have a few friends on the team, so to see them grow uh, in basketball and go all the way that they did was unheard of, and people were starting to pay
Mhm.
attention. And that's all that I ever wanted, especially with that school, because they didn't really care about women's basketball until last school year. They really put themselves on the map in terms of school wise with the cheering sections and whatever, because they barely get anyone that
Oh yeah,
goes to their games. So
our school doesn't either. I mean, GCA was actually in our subsectional, and they were actually the number one seed in our subsectional. My school was the number two seed. We were about 23-10. They were under 500. So I was like kind of shocked that that happened.
I was very shocked as well.
And I was like, I thought we deserved that number two seed. I also thought Seneca deserved a higher seed as well, knowing they beat us and they beat us in the regional championship, and then upset. Um, they upset Prairie Central, and then beat JCA in the sectional championship. And they're a really good program. I think Lee Custer's girls basketball program is really good too. Nick's done a really good job over there, and now that he stepped down as the head coach, we ended 23-10. We had a we ended on a 13-game winning streak there at the end. We beat a really good Wild team. We beat some really good teams. We beat Beecher. We beat a lot of good teams down this stretch. And, you know, I thought we were regional contenders. I thought we could even contend for state. And to see how far Seneca got in that tournament, they got to the super sectional out in Peatone. I mean, anything can happen, really. I mean, our boys' basketball team was down. I think our girls were a lot better than our boys. Our boys went 9-21. And as a senior, I take a lot of pride in being a leader and knowing the boys basketball program. I mean, they didn't really have a vocal leader, so I stepped up in that role. And I mean, I take this with pride and I say it a lot. Like me or hate me, I'm going to be the same person I am on and off the court. It doesn't matter who I'm with, I show all of my colors on and off the court. And I think that's one of the biggest things I'll take away as a coach. And I think with me as a coach, a lot of kids are going to have a lot of bright futures. My program, once I start building my own program, they're going to be built to win. We want a conference championship every single year, and we want that number one seed coming into the postseason. So I take pride in my leadership roles. I take pride in winning. I take pride in losing. Even in a loss, we learn from it, and we get better each and every day.
spoken like a true coach. You said you had some offers. I want to hear more about that because I've seen about it on your social media, which, by the way, is so cool. that you, as a freshman in college, that you have that opportunity right away. So let's hear more about that.
Oh yes. Well, I've been talking to a lot of coaches throughout the Illinois High School Association. I've been in talks with Piatone a little bit, and their JV coach. He's actually running for the school board out in Piatone, and he asked me if I would like a potential offer, and I'll take anything I can get. It's basketball. I don't care if I'm coaching girls basketball or boys basketball. It's the same thing. You just put the ball through the hoop, basically without the dunks and all the flashy moves. But I've gotten a few more offers. Kind of. I've gotten an offer. I was in talks with my old school, the Lee Custer girls basketball program, due to COVID because we have an extended winter break here with the University of Kansas. So I was going to volunteer at Lee Custer if they had a season, but we didn't really have a season. And then of course, one of my coaching buddies had um, offered me at the age of 16 a possible spot as a volunteer um, at the age of 16 right out of high school with Gardner South Wilmington. So I take pride in my offers. I think I think anyone would be lucky to have me as a coach and as a teacher because I am actually going into the education field. Um, I am going. I am going to. I lost my train of thought now. I am actually going into the education field. I think basketball was what really stood out to me into going into education because I love the kids and I love what they do. So yeah, that's what I got in terms of coaching offers so far. But I'll take anything. I'll take anywhere to coach. So it doesn't matter where I am. It's the same game. I don't care if I'm against my alma mater or if I'm with my alma mater at the end.
It's just so cool that you have that opportunity. I don't think I would go into coaching. I've always wanted to work behind the scenes. I mentioned this on the podcast before, but I work for the Kane County Cougars. I had an internship there um, from September of last year to I think it was March, and then COVID like ended everything. Um, and I just recently got back with them. So I believe that I am going to be the youngest person there employed and paid. Uh, and they have like other college interns, but they won't be getting paid. So I think it's just really cool to work for what used to be a minor league baseball team and is now it's in in its own affiliate league kind of. Um, but to make history, I guess, in a sense of the workplace is really cool. So I feel like we're both in the same boat here with history making.
Yeah, I mean, being the first coach, and I actually did my research on this. Being the first coach to ever coach the game of basketball without even playing a minute of the game or playing the game at all, and being able to coach kids is awesome, and I think that's history in the making. And I say that to every school that's looking at me. And I actually a few coaches were talking about me a month ago, and and they were talking about how good I was on the bench and everything, and they were like, "Who wouldn't want me on the sidelines?" I'm really capable at my job. I take my job with pride, and to be the first ever coach in history to ever coach the game without playing, that's that's history amongst itself, and I take pride in that.
Got some history makers on this podcast. I'll be watching. I'll say that, by the way. You're gonna make some history. I'm definitely gonna look for it. So I want to move on to talk about. Should we talk about college basketball? Let's keep going. College basketball. I don't watch a lot of college basketball. If I will sit down and watch college basketball, women's teams because I just know more players on those teams. But you are a big Kansas fan, and I just want you to talk about, you know, March Madness is coming up. What do you think's gonna happen? Do you have predictions? Do you think we're gonna have some major upsets? What do you think is gonna happen?
Oh yeah, so I looked at the college basketball rankings yesterday when they first came out, and you know, I say this not to be mean, but Kansas right now is, they don't deserve to be top 10. And I'm like, we look like the worst top 10 team that I've ever seen play. And I mean, Bill Self is a great coach. Kansas is a great program. And it's an awesome time being in, and that kind of feel to be a part of a basketball school like that is amazing. And I think coming, prediction wise with March Madness, I definitely feel like Gonzaga and Baylor have a real shot at the national title. They're my two favorites. Kansas, of course, I think they're gonna be there in the Elite Eight, maybe the Final Four, because knowing both Self, he's gonna have the kids ready for that. And I looked at them. The Big Ten stacked this year. I mean, you have Illinois, you have Rutgers, you have Minnesota, you have Michigan in the top five. You have a lot of good schools. Alabama, Alabama is a shocker this year too. Alabama's up there in the top 10. So I mean, there's gonna be a lot of shockers. I really do. Right now, I looked at the bracketology, and Kansas is supposed to be a 4 seed. So I mean, we're hanging in there right now. But I mean, who knows? I think Alabama has a real shot to make something happen. Oklahoma State is an underdog. They beat us. They beat Kansas last week. They're a really good program over there. They're even unranked, and they're about 10-3. So that's a shocker amongst itself. So we have a lot of basketball programs that are doing very well. I mean, Kentucky's a shocker though. The way Kentucky's played
That
this
I do
year,
know about.
the way Kentucky's played this year, and even Duke is kind of shocking. And I mean, I was shocked. I was like, you guys were ranked last year. You guys were like ninth in the polls to start the season, and here you are at like 5-10. So yeah, I don't think Kentucky will make it into the tournament this year. Duke's gonna have a slim shot at it, but I mean, I can see Alabama getting far. I can see Oklahoma even if they continue to play well. Oklahoma actually upset Kansas 75-68 Saturday. So I mean, we're on a 3-game losing streak, which hasn't happened in a millennia. I feel like knowing Kansas basketball.
I remember I used to watch Kansas basketball all the time, and I was such a big fan of Frank Mason. Uh, and I still follow his NBA career, even though he's had a few ups and downs. There's a lot of notable Kansas players, there's a lot of notable Kentucky players. Um, Kentucky and Duke have been surprising, but like, I'm not too shocked to the point where, like, oh my God, what are they doing? It's like, one day the mighty will fall, and that is clearly what's happening here. I haven't been following women's college basketball. I barely watched any basketball this year, to be honest. I mean, last year. We just started this year. I feel like
I
I'm recent with the basketball viewership for me. Um, I haven't really sat down and watched a game, unfortunately.
yeah, I mean, I can barely watch even. I can't even watch the NBA a lot, really. I mean, a lot of people have made the game way too political for me to watch it. I mean, I get it, have your opinions and everything, but at the end of the day, you're representing an organization, you're representing a company, a business, and I think when you're playing the game, if you're paid millions of dollars to play a game, I feel like it should be separated from politics and the game of basketball. If you can't separate playing the game and separating politics with it, because views are going down. I really feel that, especially in the professional leagues, especially the NFL and all these other leagues. I feel like a lot of views are going down with a lot of the professional leagues, and a lot of people are getting into more college basketball because they're better with not politicizing the game as much as the professional leagues, I feel like, do. So I watched the Golden State Warriors. I'm a big Golden State Warriors fan. Yes, Curry and all of that, and they're actually shocking some people too this year. And I watch a lot of them. I watch Chicago and I watch Golden State, and that's the only teams I watch when it comes to professional league play. But I this year, especially this year, I've watched a lot of college hoops, and I watch a lot of high school. I watch a lot of high school. I watch a lot of high school rematches and all the recorded games that are on YouTube, really. And I kind of learned from that too. And it's been a stressful year for me, knowing that I don't have basketball this year, and knowing I had to take that off season that I'm not used to. And I think that's what sucks when it comes to your senior year, because you're not used to, especially with all the sports I'm involved in, you don't expect to have such an off season like we've had this year. And I actually have a sports a sports related Instagram page for the Illinois Central 8 Conference, and I really encourage people to check that out, because I will post things on that. Um, and all the kids, I have about 200 followers all across the conference and even out of conference. And I get so involved in the kids, and they love what I post and they love what I do. So I take a lot of pride in basketball and a lot of other athletics, but basketball is my ride and die by far.
I feel that. I've been getting more into soccer recently. I used to hate soccer. I that when I was
Oh,
little, I got hit in the face when I was goalie. The ball hit my face, and I was like, "Nope, this is like me third grade. Nope, I'm never playing soccer again." Flash forward to sophomore year me, I'm the starting goalie for my JV team because no one else
oh yeah.
wanted to do it, so I volunteered myself. And yeah, but I love the MLS. I love the Premier League out in England. I watch the NWSL here. Um, but in regards to what you said earlier about views going down, I feel like honestly, from the stats I've seen, more women's sports leagues are getting views and the men's leagues are going down.
Oh yeah.
Why? I don't know. I feel like all of these leagues are pretty vocal in the same message, but the two, I guess, sexes are being treated differently. if
Oh
if you
yeah.
know what I mean.
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel bad for female hoopers and no female athletes out there. I mean, I watched a little bit of NCAA women's volleyball too. Actually, I watched Notre Dame's really good. Was really good this past year. Kansas was kind of eh. I mean, our only good sport is women's soccer and men's basketball. So, I mean, I'm not a big soccer fan either. I mean, I try to be, but it does. I wasn't a big baseball fan either, and I have a, you know, I didn't expect me to be the baseball manager at Lee Custer because I don't like baseball. But you know what? A funny thing, the head coach of our varsity program, um, he talked to me because he was a volunteer assistant coach for a boys basketball program, and he was like, Colton, do you know anything about baseball? And I'm like, hell no, I don't watch that. And he's like, that's okay, we'll find something for you. And I was like, okay. And you know what? Coming from Lee Custer, who's one of the best baseball programs in the state, I feel like. We won the state championship, the 2A IHSA state championship in 2016. They're a really fun group to watch. We actually have one of the best pitchers in our area. He committed to Quincy University for baseball. And, you know, we're one of the best programs. I think we were top 10 back in 2019, 2020. No, 2019. Yeah, that's the last time we played. Um, and we were top 10 in 2A, and we beat a really good Lockport team down the stretch too. That was one of my favorite wins as a manager and as a program in any sport. That was probably my best win on my resume. Is against the top tier Lockport team that was on top of the state for a while, and we went out there to Lockport and we beat them 5-1. So I mean, out and then our softball program is really good too. They actually made it to they actually made it to the sectional championship, believe it or not. And actually, Lee Custer has um, two girls softball athletes in the uh, Big Ten right now. Antoinette's over at Purdue, and um, Kenna Wilkie's over at Northwestern for our Lee Custer girls athletes. So yeah, I definitely see. I wish a lot of women's sports had a lot more views because honestly, they are fun to watch, and you know, if you watch like South Carolina and women's hoops or UConn and NCAA women's hoops, they are lights out every single year, and they literally put up 100 points per game, and that's just crazy to me, and it's weird to me that when you go to the men's basketball games, we always split our regulations, our quarters or our halves, and the two halves over there. And then, of course, you go to the women's side, and we have 10-minute quarters over there. And I feel like the NCAA can change that as well. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I think
Yeah, I
that's
never
weird.
understood that why they have two different like timekeeping for both sides, but who cares? It's the same amount of time almost. Well, not really, but they make things weird sometimes. The
Oh
time,
yeah,
yeah,
oh yeah, and I think for a men's basketball teams, I think it would be benefit them better with the in between the quarters, um, in between quarters when they can rest too. But I mean, I guess they have media timeouts. I don't know if women's basketball has media timeouts, but our men's basketball team has media timeouts.
I have no idea honestly. I don't watch. enough of it, to be honest. I want to go back to what I was saying earlier about viewership. Surprisingly, I was looking at the sheet from the end of the year. It was weird because we had, believe it was the NWSL went up the most between all the sports leagues viewership wise, like 300 something percent. It was crazy. It was some wacky number. I don't remember what it was. I saw it on Twitter. Um, they, I feel like, have better outreach for fans, and their social media is amazing. Because memes. How do you get young people to watch? You use memes.
Memes.
How do you vote for people? You use memes.
Memes.
Yeah.
You use memes. Yeah.
Their,
Yeah,
their
that's
social media especially is definitely what boosted these teams.
oh
How
yeah,
important is social media?
very important
Very
nowadays.
important. Yes.
I feel like I feel like social media has been the mecca of our generation really um growing up really. And I mean it's crazy to think that I believe that soccer you're referring to, right?
Yes.
Yes. That's crazy to think they're up there because I don't watch that stuff because soccer bores me to be
And guess
honest.
what? It's not even like on TV either. It's not.
Be-
You had to use
yes,
CBS All Access. So they got people to buy CBS All Access to watch their games. And then afterwards, the finals were on CBS. The first game of the cup, the Challenge Cup, was on CBS, and the final was also on CBS. So the fact that they could tie in their streaming network and their actual TV channel was something else. And I thought it was absurd at first. Like, I'm not paying for that, and I didn't. I just kept up through Twitter. But
yeah,
yeah,
that's how I usually keep up too, especially with boys basketball. And I actually post a lot of updates too when the girls or the boys are playing too. I'll post updates, and I actually have an Instagram page where I'll do that too. And I'll actually do like college does and some like conferences do throughout the college. I will actually make a power ranking poll for all of our sports and our schools and teams, and I will go based off their strength and schedule, their record, and their wins and losses. Who have they beaten and who have they lost to? And I will switch up the power rankings from there. So I make it to where, I'm super involved with the athletes, I'm super involved with coaches, and I think that's where I've gotten most of my respect because, you know, you know, I'm really um I'm really I'm really involved with our communities and our coaches, and I follow a lot of coaches and I'm super involved with our coaches, and on Twitter I follow a bunch of them. So you'll see I follow a lot of sports programs. I follow a lot of schools and their athletics. I so I'm super involved with athletics, and it's really good. And I do any student athlete who is watching this, I do stress you to become a multi-sport athlete because it's great. If you play football, go into wrestling. It'll get you ready for uh football, and it'll or if you play football, it will get you ready for spring, and it will help you improve your game when you're competing in other sports. So say your main sport is wrestling, you can play football, or if you run track, like you can play girls and boys basketball because you're running up and down the court for 32 minutes, 40 minutes, 48 minutes at a time, depending on how much playing time you get. So I do stress that a lot of athletes do become multi-sport athletes because it's a great thing. You know, transferring to Augusta, I didn't think I'd be a. I I never expected me to be a student manager. Again, I thought I was gonna quit basketball, but here I am, still going, still trucking along, and I've thought about it a lot, and I take pride in my education, and I take my pride in as becoming a teacher because I think basketball is what really inspired me to become a teacher, and so I take pride in my education, and I go wherever the game takes me. If I have to transfer out of Kansas just to coach and for my education, I will do that because I take pride in both and I love the game. And that's a job to me. If I get paid for a job, then I'll take it. And but I tell a lot of coaches this, and I tell a lot of people this. I don't really care about money. I don't really care about how much I'm paid. I just love my job. Um, some people may say, well, you should care about how much you're being paid. And yeah, I guess I should be, but I really don't look at it. I mean, if I have success and I love what I'm doing, it really doesn't matter to me. And I do stress this a lot. And I hope people find what they love most. And, I knew I wanted to be a teacher since I was about a freshman in high school. And being a manager has taught me a lot about how to be a leader and how to be a teacher. And, being that coach for a lot of kids to show kids my point of view from the game because Gavin Johnston of the Lancaster High School football program, he's a varsity head coach, and he said, it's like, with me, it's like having another coach there because I can give you a scouting report. I can tell you who their best players are. I can tell you the record. I can tell you what they do offensively and defensively. And I mean, that unto itself is an amazing feat I have to not be able to play sports. And I mean, I've watched my brother play football. I come from a football family, so I'm basically the only basketball mind here. And so it's hard for me to not talk about basketball a lot because a lot of them are football related and football fans, and I'm not really a big football guy. I love watching football. I mean, watching Kansas play is like watching a high school team play. No offense, but it is. But we're not really good. We haven't been good for almost 13 years. But I take pride in basketball, and that's what I love most, and that's what I inspire, and that's what I plan to do. I mean, I can see me dying on the court at 80 years old, not retiring. I will die while I'm coaching if I have to, but that's just who I am. I love what I do. I love my job. I love the kids. I love the athletes. I love uh, collaborating with other coaches. I love getting to know other teams and other coaches, and it's really fun to get yourself out there. And I mean, if I can build a program that is built on winning and respect, because if you look, I I I tried to pick out the differences in coaching girls basketball and boys basketball, and I've learned a lot of girls basketball players and a lot of girls athletes have a lot of respect for a lot of teams, even if they're not good. They will respect you, and they will have that type of humility that I feel like a lot of male athletes don't really have. A lot of male athletes like to showboat and show people how good they are, and I don't like that as a coach, and I mean, I'll teach my athletes to respect one another, respect other athletes, even if I mean, I will tell you if you're supposed to win this game or if we're having a bit of a down year. I think that's one of the best attributes I have. I have no filter and I'm not afraid to tell people, like, if you need to fix something, you need to fix something. But, it's a learning progress throughout any season. I think that's what a lot of uh, basketball teams are going through, especially with the pandemic. And, the NBA had just got done with their postseason back in October, and now they're already playing into December and into January. Now they started their uh, regular season in December. So a lot of people don't have a lot of time to prepare for these things. But I think to be able to find an identity, not only for myself, but for everybody, I think that's when you succeed the most.
Pretty solid answer. um, I just speaking about length of off season. I did make an episode about this where I did complain about how people are whining that the NBA has a really short off season, and I was like, basically, listen, the NWSL and WNBA players go overseas almost every off season to go and make more money because this is the only thing they do for a living. So I just think it's sad that NBA fans complain about that. That's just something that I wanted to bring up, just because there is a difference between the WNBA and NBA, for example, because of the off season timing. NBA players get to chillax where the WNBA has to either start a company or they think they're fine so they don't have to do anything or they go overseas. If it's an Olympic season, oh my gosh, guess what? You're traveling. You're going to another country basically most of the time. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think someone took this out there, and the NBA, had they not decided to start their play in December, they would have lost not billions of dollars, because you subtract the fan revenue because they're not allowed in the stands. They're limiting staff. They're limiting how many fans are in the building and in attendance. You're missing out on millions and millions of dollars on just that. And then of course, when you're not playing, you're not you're not making any revenue or anything like that. And even these commercials that the NBA sponsors, you're missing a lot of money on that. Like, they sponsor the playoffs, they sponsor a lot of companies, and companies will, don't get me wrong, I'm not a businessman here, but those companies will likely drop out of sponsoring the organization and the company, because overall the NBA is a business. And you know and then of course the NBA players are missing a lot of money, and they're losing a lot of money by not playing. So I think that's one of the big issues when it comes to when to start the season, because you're bound to lose money, especially due to the pandemic. Having to stop back in March was terrible on the NBA. They lost millions upon millions of dollars off of that in just 2-3 months. So I mean, I don't take it on them, because I think what they're trying to do is trying to not only limit the number of games, but to make sure they're done on time and their postseason is done by June. So that way the athletes can have that same amount of time they're usually getting when it comes to the off season.
it's very true. They did have a little shake. everyone had a shake up. Uh, we had the different bubbles. The first successful bubble being in the NWSL when they went to um, Utah to play there for a few weeks, and then that was followed by, I believe, the NBA, WNBA, and then the
Yep.
MLS.
The NCAA too was going to do an Indianapolis bubble too, to where the student athletes are in a bubble so that they don't contract the virus at all. Um, and that it's a unique idea to have that type of success and not to have that, not even one positive athlete in that bubble, especially for the NBA and how many players are in the league. Of course, now they're getting because they are playing um, across the nation. They're traveling to uh, to arenas and they're traveling to different places. Of course, you're now going to see positive cases when it comes time to play the games. And I think Boston, there's been a lot of postponements with teams. Um, so I mean, of course, any league is gonna see positive cases. I don't think you can go away from that. But to have it summer to where you're not seeing any positive cases and you're trending in a positive direction like they were, that's amazing to see. So, I mean, they did a lot of people with this bubble idea did a great job with it, in my opinion.
I was just really surprised that the NWSL had no cases whatsoever within their few weeks of being in Utah. I just when the tournament ended and that little statistic came out, I was sitting there. I was like, huh, how much news coverage is this gonna get? And they still don't even get credit for being the first bubble to be successful and to be the first like professional sports organization to start back up uh, in the summertime ever since COVID started wreaking havoc on the United States.
Oh yeah, and it's wreaking havoc everywhere. It's unprecedented, and a lot of people are losing a lot of jobs, and they're losing a lot of revenue over it. Even the middle class and the lower class families are suffering over it, and even multi-millionaire businesses are probably even suffering through it. And it was a great idea. I was happy that the NBA came back, and then and they had a successful run to the playoffs and to finish the season. And now they're getting back to normal or somewhat normal, which is a really good thing. And um, I've been keeping in contact with the IHSA. I've been part of a movement to where um, players are standing up to try and play because a lot of states are now playing high school sports um, in different states around us. So and now Illinois is starting to open back up, which is a really good thing for us, and that kids can actually do something. And I think the class of 2021 was very much screwed this year, especially in terms of no basketball and no sports in general. I think they only played golf and all year this year, so it's definitely a it's definitely a tough time for everybody. It's a tough time on a lot of people, especially if you're struggling financially, if you're struggling at home. And we had a couple of athletes actually take their life a month ago, and um, it's taking its toll on everybody. And I want to make this clear to everybody that if you need help, if you're struggling, find someone to talk to, find someone that will help you. And I promise you're not alone in this fight. And I promise our athletes will return to the playing field in no time. I really do believe that when I say that they will return, and we're going to have a lot of success with what we do, um, especially with following the rules, and make sure you're following the guidelines. That's all that matters. If you're following the rules, if you're following guidelines, there 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 shouldn't be a problem in being able to play your sport, or to being able to represent your travel team or uh your school. And hopefully, the IHSA has cleared a lot of people to start practicing for football, for basketball. And I mean, I'm glad to see that the athletes are starting to make their return um, to the playing field.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to whenever frisbee comes back, even though it's not necessarily like an actual sport in the world of IHSA. Being able to participate in that would be awesome because I did play that my junior year. We won state, we went to nationals. It was so much fun, and then senior year, everything taken away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I miss playing with my teammates. I was told last year in the summertime that if we do play again this year, um, the seniors can come back. Most of my teammates go to the same community college I do. Some of them are out of state. So to be able to almost reunite with everyone is kind of fun and exciting for me. Just having that opportunity, of course. But yes, sports are coming back soon. I don't know anything about that. My sister wants to play basketball. She's a freshman. Uh, I she's gonna go through the same program I went through for 2 years. So she kind of knows the people that's already there, and I guess that's the perk of having an older sibling for her at least.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome too. And my sister actually, she wants to start playing basketball too, and she's about 10 years old. And I talked to her, and I was like, if I'm coaching and if I'm doing all this with basketball, I will gladly take you with me, and you can sit on the sidelines with me as I'm coaching, and hopefully she gets a fun experience with it. But I really, a lot of seniors have been screwed, especially last year. Um, Not being able to graduate the way that you would want, and to not play you, because what I had my problem with the IHSA is I feel like a lot of them string players along, and they string a lot of kids along, and then at the end of all of it they just cancel it. And sometimes I just wish they'll say, oh, it's canceled, because the IDPH and the governor right now, um, they run everything right now, so you can't really help it.
All right, to end here, I want to ask you if you have a favorite quote from a coach or just who your favorite coach is of all time.
Of all time, I would definitely say of all time my favorite coach, and I'll actually name two coaches because it's hard to pick. But all time wise, I definitely look up to Phil Jackson and the success he's had throughout his coaching career. The time he had with the Bulls, the time he had with the Lakers, that was incredible. And then of course, modern day coaching, I definitely look up to Brad Stevens of the Boston Celtics. I use a lot of his quotes too. Can't name one on the top of my head, but definitely when it comes to coaching, I will definitely use. I use a lot of his quotes to help with our student athletes, to help inspire our student athletes to not only play well but to succeed, and to succeed in life. So yeah, that's my top two coaches that I really love and I take pride in learning from.
Awesome. I am a Celtics fan, so the fact that you brought up Brad Stevens is a gift. I started
Yeah,
following the Celtics when Gordon Hayward went there. I don't follow the Hornets. I kind of just stuck with the Celtics, to be honest, because I just couldn't do that. I couldn't do
the
what he did.
Celtics are always a great program. Same with the LA, and you'd think Chicago would be up there every year, but we're just
Soon. It's gonna happen soon. In a few years at least, we're gonna have the people that were from Chicago come back. It's gonna be like Derrick
yes.
Rose, except better.
Yes, I really, I love the move they had with Billy Donovan. He was great over there at OKC, and I love the move they made because I didn't like Jim Boylan as a coach. I didn't really like Fred Hoiberg either, and hopefully Chicago gets something in the name of sports because those sports, except for the Blackhawks, are kind of. Eh. I mean, the White Sox are finally doing something,
I
so
know. I'm a big White
that's
Sox
something.
fan too. I mean,
So
yeah,
it's
Chicago
def-
sports.
and then the Cubs are probably gonna wait another
I don't want
109
to hear
years.
about the Cubs.
Yeah, the Cubs are probably gonna wait another 100 years to win
Yes, there we go.
another
I like that.
to win
Exactly.
another what do you call it, World Series. So
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, thank you for having me, and
absolutely.
this was definitely fun,
See, this is a
especially
fun time. It's a fun time.
especially to get my sports knowledge out there and to collaborate with a lot of people.
Yes. I mean, the reason I started this whole thing is because number one, I was really bored in quarantine, like so bored. And I'm so passionate about women's sports. I'm majoring in sports management, and possibly journalism. Oh, well, we'll see, because I can't make up my mind. But I want to do this because no one wants to listen to me talk about sports. So I thought. And so I have my own little platform, I guess. I'm big in
Hmm.
the WNBA community, just a little bit, more like Chicago Sky community. Um, but I'm working my way up.
Yeah, that I mean, it's hard, especially if you don't have anybody, especially with quarantine and with social distancing and making sure you're uh, staying safe and well. I think it takes a toll on a lot of people not having people to talk to. But definitely for all the people out there, definitely stay safe, stay healthy. Um, definitely improve if you're a student athlete. This is your off season right here. Definitely work hard. Um, if if you want to talk to me, if you want to get to know me, uh, I'll, my Instagram, you can look my name up, Colton New, Colton, New, Neu. You can look me up on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Uh, my Snapchat's on there too if you ever want to communicate with me, and I can also help you.
You stole my question. I was gonna ask, what are you gonna, what do you want to shout out, and you just did it.
Yes,
You're
I.
already a pro guest. You're already a
Oh,
pro.
yeah.
All right, but that is gonna do it for today's episode. Of course, we're still in a pandemic, and as I end all of my episodes, this is how I've ended every single one of my episodes, by the way. Wear a mask, wash your hands, social distance, or when you can. Um, Thank you for listening to today's episode. Wasn't it a lot of fun, Colton? So much
Yep,
fun.
it was.
Yes.
Thank you for having me, guys. Stay safe and stay healthy and continue to do you.
Solid. All right, that's going to be it for me. Thank you so much for watching. You can follow me on Twitter at WSM Podcast. You can tweet me, do whatever you want. I'm bored. Tweet at me on social media. I also have an Instagram. It's Women's Sports Matter. Very simple. You can also look me up on YouTube, the Women's Sports Matter Podcast. Subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast because, hey, else you just love this. And that's it for me. So thank you so much for watching, and that's all, folks. See you next time.
See ya. Thank you.